During World War II, when the Soviet Red Army decided to invade Finland, no one expected the Soviets to face any significant challenges in conquering the country. However, to everyone's surprise, after launching their attack, the Red Army was forced to retreat and accept defeat. One of the key individuals who played a significant role in defeating the Soviets, and perhaps without whom Finland's victory wouldn't have been possible, was Simo Häyhä, the greatest sniper in history. He single-handedly eliminated more than 500 Soviet soldiers. Häyhä's reputation and the fear he instilled in his enemies was so immense that the Soviet army gave him the nickname White Death. In this video, we're going to tell you about Simo Häyhä, the greatest sniper in history. Simo Häyhä was born in 1905 in southeastern Finland, near the Russian border. He was the seventh child of a kind and hardworking farming couple. From a young age, he helped his siblings with farm chores, hunting, and skiing. At the age of 17, Simo joined the Finnish army voluntarily. From the very beginning, his exceptional marksmanship became well known in the region. His home was filled with trophies and medals from shooting competitions that he had won. However, his personality wasn't one to seek attention. So in most group photos, he would stand in the corner. The only time he had to stand in the center was when receiving awards for his victories. At that time in Finland, military service was mandatory. At 19, after completing his 15 months of mandatory service, Simo joined the Army's bicycle battalion. For the next 13 years, he received no formal sniper training. In fact, it was only about a year before the war began that Simo attended sniper training at a specialized center. Even during his training, Simo's friends and instructors were amazed at his talent. They noted his extraordinary ability to estimate distances, aim precisely, and hit targets with incredible accuracy. In 1939, about 3 months after the start of World War II, the Soviet Union conquered Poland in just 16 days. Emboldened by this victory, Stalin, the Soviet leader, decided to invade Finland, thinking, "If we don't act quickly, Hitler will take Finland, which is right on our border, and that will become a serious threat to us." At the time, Finland had a population of only 4 million and a relatively small army. Despite repeated demands by the Soviets to establish military bases in strategic areas of Finland, the Finns refused. Having been part of the Russian Empire before the Russian Revolution, they knew that if they became a Soviet colony again, they might never regain their independence. In response, Stalin sent 250,000 Red Army soldiers, nearly twice the size of the Finnish army, equipped with tanks and advanced aircraft, to invade Finland. The war began in the coldest month of the year, in one of the coldest regions on Earth. The Red Army leaders believed their troops were used to such cold conditions and were confident that they would conquer Finland in just 2 or 3 weeks. But Finland, which had been independent for over 20 years, had developed a strong sense of patriotism. They were determined to fight for their land, even at great personal cost. In addition to the Finnish army, civilians from towns and villages joined the fight, creating homemade bombs to resist the Soviet invaders. When Soviet planes bombed Finnish towns and villages in an attempt to intimidate them, Finland filed a formal complaint with the international community, hoping to avoid war. In response, Soviet Foreign Minister Vyacheslav Molotov dismissively claimed, "We are unaware of these accusations by Finland. It seems to be a misunderstanding. We have only sent humanitarian aid packages by air, not bombs." Outraged by this blatant lie, the Finns named their homemade bombs Molotov cocktails, When Soviet troops entered Finnish territory, the Finns used these makeshift weapons to great effect, saying, "We've made a delicious cocktail for Mr. Molotov." From then on, the name Molotov cocktail stuck. The Soviet soldiers encountered several unexpected challenges during the war. First, temperatures dropped far lower than they had anticipated, reaching as low as minus 43 degrees Celsius or minus 45 degrees Fahrenheit. The extreme cold claimed the lives of many Red Army soldiers. Additionally, the Finns used the snow and freezing conditions to their advantage. The Finns made excellent use of the cold and snow, launching guerrilla attacks on the Soviet army using skis. Finland's dense forests also worked in their favor, as the Red Army was unfamiliar with the terrain. Every time the Soviets got stuck somewhere, Finnish forces would attack them. Survivors who fled into the forest often got lost and succumbed to the freezing temperatures. Although Finland had a smaller army, they had the political backing of several European countries who didn't want the Soviet communists to gain more power. Amid these circumstances, Simo Häyhä, the most skilled sniper of his time, played a critical role. Wearing a white uniform that made him nearly invisible in the snow, he would hide and pick off Soviet soldiers one by one. Häyhä was essentially a one-man army, earning him the nickname White Death among Soviet troops. In the snowy landscape, no one could spot him. As Finland is near the Arctic Circle, its winter days are extremely short. This gave Häyhä limited time to operate. Despite that, he killed over 500 Soviet soldiers during the 100 days of the war, averaging 5 kills per day. According to his commander, the actual number was likely higher, with reports stating Häyhä once killed 25 soldiers in a single day. Standing only 153 centimeters 5 feet tall, Häyhä was an unassuming figure. He wore all-white clothing for camouflage, carried a small amount of bread, sugar, and snacks in his pack, and would leave for his hidden position before dawn. Once in place, he remained motionless all day, covered in snow, making him nearly impossible to detect. To further avoid detection, Häyhä would put snow in his mouth to prevent the steam from his breath from giving him away. As the war neared its end, Soviet soldiers became desperate to locate and eliminate the White Death. Eventually, a Red Army soldier managed to spot him and fired a shot that struck Häyhä in the lower jaw, shattering it and leaving him severely wounded and covered in blood. The battle was so intense that no one could retrieve Häyhä immediately. At night, Finnish soldiers arrived to collect the dead and discovered Häyhä's seemingly lifeless body among a pile of corpses. Believing he was dead, they announced the death of the White Death. The news spread rapidly across Finland and the Soviet Union. It was a significant moment in the war, and soldiers on both sides were deeply affected by the announcement. However, while transporting the bodies, a soldier noticed that Häyhä was still breathing. He quickly summoned medics who managed to save his life. Häyhä remained unconscious for a week, only waking up on the day Finland and the Soviet Union signed a ceasefire. That same day, Häyhä saw reports of his death in the newspapers. He wrote to the editors, humorously requesting they correct the mistake, stating, "I'm alive." After the war, Häyhä received numerous medals of freedom and military honors. He was celebrated as a national hero, but could never return to active service due to the severe injuries to his jaw, which had permanently altered his appearance. Häyhä became increasingly reclusive, returning to his family farm to focus on farming and deer hunting. He never married. Later in life, after losing his parents and finding farming too challenging, Häyhä rented out his land and moved to a small apartment in the city. At the age of 95, during a Danish Independence Day celebration, someone asked him if he felt guilty about killing 500 people. Häyhä replied, "If all Finnish soldiers thought like you, there would be no Finland today." In his final years, he spent his final years in a nursing home and passed away at the age of 96. White Death remained a hero to the people of Finland, and many famous heavy metal bands composed songs in his honor. Numerous books were written about him, and films were made to tell his story. This was the story of the Winter War, the conflict between Finland and Russia, and the tale of White Death, the most famous sniper in history.